Recording.
Hello, virtual digital audience.
Hola.
Just fine.
I am acknowledging that I am live on some video in future time.
Very nice. So tonight we're going to take a look at the submissions that we have, and we have 4 for our summer foods category. And then after that, we're just going to kind of have an open discussion talking about inspiration and where you find it and how you keep track of it, because there's so much on the internet that it's impossible to look at it all or remember it. But first, let's take a look at some submissions. I don't know if anybody else has one that they didn't get a chance to submit yet. You can toss it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to start going through what I already have. So I'm going to share, and we'll see what we can do. Let's go with, I think Hannah was the first one up. So let's see if I can find
Yours
it.
was super cool.
Yeah, right.
I already watched yours. That's good.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Got an Instagram preview of it.
Well, let's do, should have have instead. Here's Hannah's, and Hannah's has sound, as you know. Hannah apparently likes to add the extra touch on here. So
Yeah, I had a little bit of difficulty trying to meet that 30-second mark.
So I'm like uncomfortable, but in a good way. When I see that mosquito.
Hannah, did you do those drawings?
Yeah.
They're great.
So I did my little sketches of them and then just took a picture of it with my phone and then brought them into After Effects.
Nice.
Well, first Photoshop where I cleaned it up a little bit, but then After Effects.
That is too cool.
Yeah, I do love the color, the like offset color on the design too. That was a really nice touch.
I was not expecting that mosquito at all. And I'm so glad I was muted because I literally did laugh out loud. And I didn't want to distract. That was just, God, summer food. You nailed it.
I mean, it's true. And I didn't even notice that was there until like you zoomed in. I was like, oh, that's what's on her face.
Did you make the straw noises?
No.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, here you are, like, oh, do over. Take 2.
Gulp.
That was probably the most uncomfortable part about this whole thing, was going through the stock sounds of slurping noises.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, okay, this is a little much.
Okay, how long did you spend doing that?
Not very long. I just like, get it done. I don't want to listen to these sounds anymore.
Oh, mouth sounds on stock sites does not sound like a fun thing to to search for. So what gave you the idea for a 2-level summer drink?
I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it has to be I was inspired by, who was it last week that had a straw animation?
That was Adam.
Yeah,
Oh, I think that was that. Yeah.
I must have been inspired by that. And then I was laying outside on our deck and there are mosquitoes. So, yeah.
There we go.
I immediately thought of Adam's demo the other day too. That's where I thought you got it from.
Yeah, for those of you who weren't here, our last meeting was recorded and is up on our Facebook page. And you can check out last meeting where we had Adam's straw prompt, which is what we're all referencing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Thanks for sharing, Adam. I used the little trim paths on the straw, and I used the wave modifier on the glass. Like, oh, look at this! This is cool.
Oh, sweet. How did you do the bulge and the liquid?
What was that? I think it was a modifier. I think it was just called bulge. I think
There is a
actually,
bulge.
Yeah.
not something I use very often. And I just offset the center point of the bulge.
It's funny when Paul and I decided on summer food or summer treat for the theme. I'm just like, I wonder how many people are going to use the CC bubbles particle effect.
And there's something a little disturbing about like the bulge on the mosquito.
Yeah. On the straw, it looks just fine. But
Yeah, I mean that's a normal thing, but now I'm like picturing every mosquito that's bit me this summer as
If you're a
this.
big gulp, now you're a big gulp.
So
Sounds
very
like Dumb and Dumber. Hey guys, big gulps. Well, see you later.
cool.
very
Well,
nice, Hannah.
awesome job. If unless anybody else has any other questions or comments, we can move on to the next one. And no? Okay. Let's see.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
Oh, I did have a question. Well, maybe we could save it for after critiques. I don't know. But there's a point where I zoom in and then I zoom back out. On the graph editor, I was noticing a point where I couldn't speed it up any further. The curve, like it would top out at a certain point, so I couldn't actually zoom out as quickly as I zoomed in.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Like, I could only stretch the Bezier handle so far on the graph editor before it wouldn't.
So were you just doing a handle adjustment then, or were you like actually moving that keyframe sooner in time? Were you changing with the keyframe
I was
interpolation at
just
all?
doing a handle adjustment.
Okay. That's generally what I do. There is sometimes where if you want the keyframe to stay at the same pace, but you still want to make further adjustments in the graph editor, then you have to go into the spatial interpolation as well, which can get a little tricky. And unfortunately, I worked today, so my brain is fried mush, and I don't know how to expand upon that. But yeah, so when I'm in the graph editor, I usually like to especially if I'm like easing in or easing out, I like to crank that up to at least like 80 or 75. And then you can make further adjustments with like the keyframe type and the keyframe interpolation.
Mhm.
I don't know if that was helpful. That's what I got.
Yeah, and scale can be kind of weird just because it feels different than like the math is actually doing.
Yeah.
And there is something built in After Effects called exponential scale. That if you select your two keyframes, and I think it's in the keyframe assistant menu, that you can say exponential scale, and it actually creates keyframes on every frame, but it does like a literal exponential
Oh.
scale where it like really like ramps up there. So that's, you don't have any control over it after it's done, but that's another thing you could try as well.
Hmm.
That's
That's
kind of
just
what
a right click thing. Like,
The exponential
Yeah.
scale.
It's right click or it's in the animation menu, I think, under the keyframe assistant.
if you ever do a zoom out of a planet, you definitely need to use it.
Earth zooms. Are those still a thing?
Unfortunately, yes.
Didn't you do one on a music video or something a couple months ago that you had showed at a meetup, or is that?
I
Was I
did.
imagining
There's a
things?
newer one on my demo reel. I had a really old one I did a long time ago.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
For a theater company, I had to do one where I had to zoom out to the infinite universe. I only put part of it on my reel because it went really far.
Yeah.
Ever expanding universe. So.
Cool. All right.
At least I made it look comic-like, so it wasn't just your average Earth zoom.
I mean, you can't have your average universe expand.
Right.
Right. Cool. Well, we will. Sorry, I'm just hiding some other things in preparation for sharing my screen later. Let's see. There you go. Oh no, people are going to see my desktop in a moment. That's a frightening thing. Okay, we'll take a look at Mike's next.
Oh, I need to play some opening music for that
Oh, really?
because it's so exciting. All right, cue it up. Hit it, Paul.
Okay, hold on. now I gotta let this go. Like we're at the stadium.
Yeah.
They leave it playing for way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
There
Okay.
we go.
All right.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of like what that model reminds me of, and I can't quite place it.
That's the little artist mannequins that you
Yeah,
get
but
on
it's
like
like
the wooden
sci-fi
stick.
too.
Xbot, Ybot, something.
Yeah.
Xbot. I've
There's a
seen
Will
it on
Smith
the Bjork video too.
That's what I'm thinking of, the Bjork video.
Oh,
York, yeah.
Look at all those green and pink. I'm going to call them nerds, even though I know that's probably not what they are. But yes, you want to tell us a little bit about
Sure.
this one?
I know it's a total cliche thing to do these, but what I wanted to kind of find out was like just kind of solving how to use Mixamo, because I literally just heard about Mixamo 2 days ago, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to try it out. So you can import that character with the animation already in there, and then I had to figure out how do I export an OBJ sequence out of Cinema 4D, which you have to use a script for. So now I'm learning how to do a script. And I imported it all into Stardust. And I just want to kind of play with the physics and kind of just figure out just how does it work. Originally, I was going to do apples and oranges falling, but then I looked at the palette we were supposed to use, and I'm like, all right, well, that's what I'll
Spears
go with.
it is.
Yeah, this is. I learned this in about probably 3 hours.
Nice.
It's a pretty good progress for 3 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty. I really like the volumetric light that comes with Stardust.
Oh, the light comes with Stardust?
Volumetric light, yeah. So the
Oh.
shadows that are kind of casting down from that one spotlight, I probably could have made it stronger looking at it now, but what do you expect in 3 hours? It's like my first time doing this.
And the because I'm not as familiar with Stardust, but it looks like the particles are actually interacting physics-wise with the character as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Like there's something that get caught up on the torso up there.
Yeah, they're emitting. So I have two emitters, or sorry, one emitter. One emitter is coming from the model itself, the dancer.
Mhm.
And then I just have two particles with physics attached to them that are emitting from the OBJ model.
Is it an Olympic file or something that you import into Stardust?
I went from Mixamo, which exports this is probably wrong. I'll just call it FXD file. I don't know what the name was. And then from Mixamo, I import that into Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D can read that file, and you can see it dancing around in Cinema. Then you need to get it out of Cinema with an OBJ sequence, which requires a script because OBJ sequences you can't export out of Cinema. So,
And that's the format that Stardust takes.
OBJ, yeah. OBJ, yep.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think there's a couple plugins that do that too. Because I think when Trapcode Form was able to import OBJ sequences. I think Red Giant might have come out with one, and Robite might have also had one, and we have to look for it later. But yeah, there's a. It's not a native way to get stuff out of OBJ sequence out of there. So
Robite has what's it called, Plexus,
oh yeah, that's probably why they have.
Plexus.
and that's what I used. Was originally was the Plexus OBJ sequence export. It didn't work.
Oh really?
No.
Wonder if it's something newer with R21 or S22 or whatever you had used.
I'm on 16.
Oh well.
It's cool.
Oh, you know what? I think I want to say it actually started with 17. So that might be why. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Absolutely.
All right. So next up, we'll take a look at Adam. So let me share Adam's tab. All right.
It's basically the same thing. Just kidding.
Again.
Oh, you did little cutouts. That's cute.
I'm a sucker for cutouts, honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So. Hey, do you,
Yeah,
Is
try
the
to get
Upper Midwest a real thing?
Oh, say again?
Is the Upper Midwest Digital Collection Conference, is this a thing?
Yeah, so I did this for a client, and I think they're actually going to go for it. So
Nice.
nice.
yeah. I had to like scramble today to like, I didn't really do anything in summer food, but
It's food
I mean,
for the bees.
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah, so I was trying to do a little like stop motion feel, which if it comes through or not, but
Yeah, I mean, definitely feel that lower frame rate, especially on the bee at the open.
Mhm.
Like that very first movement is so quick, and it like really kind of cuts across the screen there, which helps sell it.
I appreciate that you added a shadow for the bee. That's something that a lot of people would overlook, and it really adds like that extra level of realism to the project. Like it gets you engrossed in the world you're creating. So kudos, Adam.
cool, thanks. Yeah, and I learned too that you can, by changing the depth or the distance, sort of create the effect that it's landing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, what do you think? What will they be using this for?
Social media,
Yeah.
For the half dozen people that follow social media. Yeah, and then we're also doing. I mean, it's all digital, of course. So marketing stuff and presentation. Yeah.
Speaking of shadows, what did you use for the shadow?
It's just an effect. I don't really know. I don't
Okay.
remember.
I don't know. I've
I'm
seen.
a basic user here, so.
Okay, that's totally fine. Shadow
So-
Studio 2. I wondered if anybody had used that. That's why I brought it up. If anybody's used it from plug-in everything. Anybody's tried that out?
No.
I have not used Shadow Studio. No.
Okay.
That's one of those things I never really thought would need an extra like plugin to make shadows beyond what we already have. But
They look very nice.
yeah,
Yeah. I especially like how the bee kind of wiggles a little bit after it lands. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, that's very cute.
One thing about the shadow, though, it really helps to add depth, definitely. But it's fuzzy when the bee is up in the air, but then once it lands, the shadow should actually be more crisp. If we're
Sharper.
going
Yeah.
for realism. Fuzzy when it's far away and crisp as it lands on the flower. I think that if it's just a regular drop shadow, that's just the softness setting, I believe.
So I can adjust that.
yeah.
Keyframe
You
it.
can keyframe it at the same time that you adjust the distance,
Yeah.
and then it would kind of sharpen up as it comes in.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it looks nice though. Sweet. All right. Well, we have one more that I believe is Todd's. So let's take a look at that.
Still,
And don't go full screen there.
Ah, so meta.
Right? Hi, everyone. Look at yourselves. And now ignore my terrible desktop because I have not cleaned it up today. All right.
Yes.
I love the perspective shift on the double popsicle that's going on there.
thanks.
So how did you arrive at the dancing popsicle?
Well, summer food, of course, and the colors. I was looking at the colors and trying to think of, snow cones or popsicles or whatever. So then I was okay. If I'm gonna do something with a popsicle, I wanted to experiment with some things I haven't used much. So I've had rubber hose for quite a while. So, and I haven't really used it. I've used Duick for all my rigging and stuff. So I wanted to play with that. And of course, I just wanted to do something goofy and fun. So since it's summer food, what's more fun and goofy than a dancing popsicle?
I do have to say, I really like the touch of the wood texture going up through the popsicle. That's diffused a little bit as it
Thanks.
goes up behind there, up here.
Yeah, and how when he like turns his body, you still see like some opaqueness of his eyeballs through the popsicle body.
He was supposed to have a mouth too, but I ran out of time. I started working on it, and then I had to go to Illinois and got back and tried to just jam it out really fast. So, yeah. Yeah, I did the popsicle part in cinema, just the pink part, and put nulls in it for the shoulders and for where the sticks would be. And that way I can import the nulls into After Effects and use those nulls to attach the joints for rubber hose for the neighbor is mowing and I'm outside. I'm going to move to the other side of the house. Yeah, so that was something I wanted to play with too, was just kind of do a combination of 2D with 3D stuff. So the diffuse stuff, actually those popsicle sticks, I was going to do those in cinema, but I just comped them all in After Effects. So those are getting their parallax movement from those nulls from the animation in cinema. So I just rendered out like a 24 frames. I really only needed 12, but if you were to keyframes to recopy over and over.
So I
yeah,
gotta ask though. So since you have the limbs in rubber hose doing their thing, but you clearly rendered the popsicle first to get everything where it needed to be. How did you get to a place where you were happy with the animation you had already made of the popsicle without any limbs to where you have now limbs and After Effects matching up with that little like stomp that he's doing?
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of just thought it out a little bit, and what I was thinking was I really only needed the rotation on the y-axis in cinema, and then I just faked the rotation, where he's bobbing forward and back. I did that rotation in After Effects.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I do see that the specular reflection does not change as it's rotating that way.
That's true.
There you go.
It was
Cheating is the best way to get things done.
Yeah, it was just kind of a quick cheat. Like I wanted, some of the cinema stuff, but I didn't want to animate. Since this is the After Effects users group, I didn't want to animate it all in cinema. But
we're agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at first I was just gonna do it all in Photoshop, paint it up and everything, and with gradients and noises and stuff like that. But I was like, I could just do this in cinema. It'd be really easy. So just did that rotation back and forth, and yeah, I was kind of happy with how some of that worked. But then the compositing I had an alpha channel done for the popsicle to make for all the blurs and everything on the sticks inside. So I had a mask already for all that and just put those out that way. So
Nice.
it's still rough. It was like a first pass at the actual animation, and I actually made. I don't know if anybody recognizes what this is from, but the Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah.
Oh, now that
Now
you
that you
say it,
say
I
that.
see it instantly.
So this is Bender. He's a
Yep.
popsicle. So I did have the other two guys that he's doing this dance move with. Also, they're supposed to be the green and blue popsicles that were dancing with him, and I made their shoes and stuff too. They had some Nikes on, but of course ran out of time having to go back to Illinois to finish that part off. So, and I wanted to do the whole dance clip that's in there, but if anybody just looks up the Breakfast Club dance scene on YouTube, you'll see this clip where they're dancing. So
For sure.
Yeah. Well, if and when you ever get that that finished with the rest of them, you should post it on either the Facebook group or Discord or the
Absolutely.
Instagrams or whatever the kids are
That'd be
using
great.
these days for sharing.
TikTok, except it's going to be banned.
Everything is on. Yeah, sure.
Hey,
We got a couple more weeks for TikTok, so
a couple more weeks.
that's awesome. All right. So thanks everyone for sharing, and I'll check the chat. I don't think we got any more in there. Yep. Last thing was Todd waving hi in the chat. So. Cool. Well,
I missed it. What's the 2 weeks for TikTok?
Oh, TikTok's been, at least for now, it's planned on being banned in the United States, but I don't know if it's ever been technically worked out how that will happen. And apparently Microsoft has basically been ordered to buy it. I don't know everything that's going on with that realm right now. So I'll
Yeah,
just
if you
leave it
just
at that.
Google TikTok ban after the meeting, you'll open up a whole can of worms. So
Oh, that's okay. I try to stay away
The best
from
kinds of
TikTok.
cans. Cool. Well, after looking at that inspiration, I wanted to open this up to a more broad discussion about how you find inspiration and then how you kind of collect it and sift through it and decide what's worth keeping, what you don't want to keep. And I think just to start, I'm curious of the types of inspiration people generally look for, because we work in as we just saw, a very wide-ranging field of different looks, different styles. We beg, borrow, and steal from film and art and photography and design. So I'm just curious if you either like a raise of hands or if you just want to say anything. If anyone wants to talk about if they like looking at other motion design pieces for inspiration, or if you like looking outside of motion design at other fields for inspiration. I'm just curious where people land on that side of things.
I guess my recent experience, when I look for After Effects work, it kind of all looks the same, where there's what I'm finding is all of a certain style, and that just doesn't really serve me, because I feel like then all you can do is try to match that style. But for that thing that I showed, it was all about having learned some new techniques or new things to play. And I always find that that's kind of for me the best way to come up with work is to have not a goal in mind, but a process to work with.
And I saw Todd say that they like to use both motion design pieces and other fields. So.
For me, if I'm trying to come up with an idea, I tend to look outside the motion design industry, photography, painting, sculptures, anything. But if I'm looking specifically for what's trending in the industry or what's most popular, what clients most likely to ask for, then I look at the motion design industry specifically.
Yeah, just open up Buck's webpage, and there's every client brief that comes at you, because you could totally do that in 2 weeks for $500 when it took them months and 18 people and tens of thousands of dollars. I guess that's like kind of along those lines. Do you? And this is kind of the general you. Do you have a separate process for looking for like inspiration for like mood boards and stuff for clients versus personal work, or is it all kind of blend together in the same kind of process? Because I know you had mentioned, Hannah, that like you might be looking for more trendy things for a client.
Yeah, if I'm creating a mood board for myself, I will grab things from all over architecture because I'm able to see in my mind what I specifically like about that and able to apply it. But if I'm creating a mood board for a client, then it is more narrow and it's more direct how things relate to each other, just so there's less confusion with the client.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, inspiration is a fun, interesting topic to talk about, like when you're talking about inspiration for yourself versus a client, because working in the digital artistry world, a lot of us are creative thinkers and we're easily able to jump from like A to D, and we're able to like go a few steps forward and we instantly have a direction, or something will spark something else and it just goes. But then when you have clients, because they're coming to you because they need that creative assistance, they kind of go A to B, and then they're stuck on B for a good long while before they're able to join you at D. So like for me, if I'm looking for inspiration, I'll usually just like find a bunch of things, put links in a Google Doc for myself. If I'm creating something back in my studio days, like I would find the look or the color scheme, and then I would like work really late to get those elements incorporated into the client's brand to make it easier for them to envision and be inspired by. That was my process.
Yeah. I think that's a hard thing too, when you're dealing with a client, or even if you're in-house and you're dealing with your own brand, how do you like look for inspiration that's outside of, your typical spheres in your brand and your colors and everything. And then I feel like it could be very difficult to sometimes bring that into, the brand language and look and feel. And for those of you that do have to do that, do you also find it hard to incorporate other styles into an established brand to try to push it, or do you just look only within the kind of established look and feel that's there?
Don't everybody speak at once.
It's hard with 13 people on at once.
Well, I find
I usually
one of
go
the
for.
easier-
Yes.
Go ahead, Todd. I've already talked.
I was gonna say I usually go for a couple that seem like a sure thing, look and feel that is within the industry acceptable and stuff like that, and then try to throw in a couple of curveballs just for something outside to try to expand their mind a little bit.
Okay, I have to ask you, has that ever like bitten you, like come back at you negatively? Because I did that once where I had like, and it was in my early days, so I didn't know any better. I was a wee younger, more naive Tara, but I had like, oh yeah, they'll definitely pick this option. This is so amazing. And I had one option that I was okay with, and then the third option, I'm just like, they ain't gonna pick this, but I need 3 options to present to them. Sure enough, they like the poo-poo number 3 that I didn't want them to pick. And I quickly learned, if you're giving them options, be prepared to go with either direction.
Yeah, definitely that's happened a long time ago to me as well. So I never show them anything that I'm not going to be fine with working on myself.
Yeah,
I think all of us have had that happen. For sure. Let's show them the Helvetica version just so they can see how bad it looks. Oh, I like the Helvetica one.
Yeah, I feel like that's like there's Murphy's Law. I feel like there's some kind of law for if you have like whatever one you're least excited about is what the client's going to pick. So make sure you're okay with everything that you show.
Well put.
I think somebody at an agency a long time ago explained it to me like that there's an old saying, if it's on the rail, it's for sale. I was like, what's a rail? And it was like, oh no, when they put like all the boards up like along the rail on the wall for the client to look at, it's like, oh, I never did that. So along those lines too, I think like talking about the tools for collecting inspiration, because we're long ago, you might have gone through books or magazines or like physical media to kind of find things. Now everything's online, and I feel like there's so much out there. How do you start narrowing down what you're finding? And are you looking on places like, Pinterest, or just Google image searches, or like museum sites, or maybe there's an artist you already know? Like what do you use to start filtering down, this fire hose of art?
I always collect things ahead of time. Every time I'm looking on anything, I do a bunch of folders and just sort things into folders categories. So if something does come up, I already have a stock full of way too many things to look at, which helps, when crunch time comes and you're just trying to get something out fast, and then I have a lot of that already stuck in my head from, oh yeah, I'll just go to this folder and pull some of that out. But the fire hose of information is overwhelming. And even things like, I have stacks of old magazines that when I was driving to Illinois, you were talking about magazines, I was going through those and tearing things out just to get rid of the magazines, and then sorting those papers and stuff into folders for categories and stuff too. So.
Next step will be to scan those pages you teared out, so you have them digitally.
Oh,
no.
No? No, that's too much.
Yeah, I also have a system of folders where if I find something that, oh, that's really cool, I only take it if I think this is really cool or might see a purpose for it. Otherwise, you'll just fill your folders up with so much. But then I just categorize it like landscapes or environments or props. But then I also have a separate folder for each individual client if I need reference or inspiration or to create a mood board. But that stays with that specific client. So then it's not in my personal inspirations folder.
I think that's a good approach, Hannah.
But yeah,
I'm of the.
There's a lot out there.
There's so much, and I'm of the opinion that like if anything is related to a client or a project, even if it is just like reference or mood board, that it should be contained within the client project folder. It's just one of those rules I live by, because I'm such a bad person living dangerously on the edge. I made Paul smile. Yay!
I have a hard time imagining like you being a bad person, but like you're always so smiley and happy.
Thank goodness.
Unless it's like the maniacal like bad person, like you can't tell and she's about to snap, kind of thing.
Well, it's super funny earlier that you said like, oh, do you use like physical medium? Just like I have literally like 3 bookshelves over there that are just filled with like giant like large format books that are art of books for everything. There's some DVDs over there too, because like you can't have books on the top shelf or it'll fall over. But like I've got like a bunch of art of books that I'll pick up periodically for inspiration, and then I like to go to the stock websites and be like, okay, what is trendy, what is selling, so I'm aware of what's happening right now. And then if you ever need like, I don't know, iconography, there's just oodles of that online already. Like I'm not going to pay for it, but I can at least like see what other people are doing and then make my own, so I'm not, being suckered $3 to $5 for an icon.
I feel like I do that. And there's a recent project where it was kind of abstract in as far as we were trying to like find representations of things rather than like, for quitting or for, this is a some kind of representation of advertising. And I think I went to Noun Project for that one. If you're not familiar, Noun, I think I forgot if it's the Noun Project or if it's just nounproject.com. And you just like search for a thing and it shows you, here's like 57 people who have submitted icons for that thing. And it's kind of a nice, not that I generally don't use them, but it's nice to at least know like, okay, there's a general tendency to use this kind of form to represent that thing. And then I know I'm kind of on the right track.
Yeah, are there any other websites that people like go to consistently for either like reference or inspiration or to see like, am I on the bar with what's trending right now? Pause for people to unmic, unmute maybe, and answer.
I just use the old faithful Insta.
Instagram.
Just throw it in a folder called Motion, and I've, like Hannah was saying, she kind of like categorizes. I used to do that, but then I'd go back and look at it and like, there's only one thing in this category. I just made a folder called Motion and just throw it all in there. If I don't like it, I can get rid of it right away.
There you go. Anyone else? Anything seconding Instagram or anything? Any other sites or quick destinations to start? Yes.
Used to go to Behance a lot.
Mm.
Occasionally go there now. Once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, Behance. There's lots of good stuff on there. Another place you can sort things in folders. Pinterest is just a rabbit hole. I think it's hard to get off of there once you start. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have that exact same sentiment. I had to uninstall it from my phone because it'd be like, oh, I'll be on Pinterest for 5 minutes and then it's 3 hours later. So
Is anyone using Dribble anymore?
I fell off the dribble train.
It's like MySpace now.
I think Dribble felt like it suddenly turned into job announcements and hey, I got hired announcements and like other things rather than like I really liked it at first because there's like works in progress of stuff and like the limited nature of it like was really cool. And then it kind of ballooned into, oh, I'm gonna make something for this medium, and then it just kind of fell apart somewhere a few years ago. I'm not sure what happened.
It was kind of like DeviantArt back in 2000. Everyone laughs because they were all on it.
Yep.
I have so many comments, but I'm aware that this meeting's being recorded, so I'm not going to say any of them.
Has anyone looked at? I don't look at it unless like it comes across in like a Google search or something. But ArtStation, I don't even really know like what crowd like hangs out there. But it's kind of another place, like kind of like DeviantArt of like posting your own artwork.
It's a lot of 2D digital paintings and a lot of game asset creation. It's a lot of that. There aren't too much for motion design on there. But it seems like it's good to see something different.
Yeah.
Learn Squared, those guys are always, it seems like artists on there, always have ArtStation type things.
Yeah. Actually, that kind of reminds me too that one of the places when like Tara and I before the meeting started were briefly talking about Vimeo and its fall from grace over the last several years, but there used to be a lot of good like groups that would just curate stuff on there, like Wine After Coffee, or like there were a handful of like smaller ones too. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of finding myself missing that. And where there used to be like the central place you can go to like see this feed of people who found cool stuff, and now I don't know where to find that same kind of feeling anymore. If anybody else is seeing it like felt the same way or found a new thing.
Twitch.
Yeah.
I will say that like just like the wide range of content that people can stream on Twitch is buck wild. Like you can literally find anything there. Hopping back to Vimeo, like they still have a pretty good selection for their staff picks. Like I saw some cute little animation about locally grown food. I'm just like, oh, that warms my heart in this pandemic that we're having right now. Seeing this little animated carrot. Heck yeah.
Did Wine After Coffee stop?
I think they might still be doing some stuff on there. But it's, I think partially because I don't, like, Vimeo isn't my first
Platform.
platform to like go to. So whereas I used to probably be there several times a week, now it's like I have to consciously make the effort to like go there and look. But yeah, it's
Motionographer? Does anybody still look at that?
I go there occasionally. But again, like Paul said, it's kind of like one of those things where you have to make that conscious decision to like, oh yes, I should go check that out. I check out Motion Poems once a month. And if anyone doesn't know what Motion Poems is, it's this really cool collaboration where a poem is determined and then they make a motion animation for it. You get some pretty like varying styles there, and it's very, very crazy and like very, very interesting because it's a poem, so a lot of it's like very abstract. Yeah, I'd say check it out. Thumbs up.
Is it like one person or one like collective that makes all of them, or is it a different person each time, or is it like a montage of like different people's assets in one poem? Like what's the
So they have 150 plus film catalog. So like I think they're all collaborations. Occasionally like they might be one person going, I'm not entirely sure. But they also like have them broken up into like different categories. So like they had seasons of motion poems, but then like they also had a special projects and a category like designated for youth. I'm on there right now on another page and I see they have a COVID-19 motions poem category.
Wow, that's so weird. I
Yeah.
wonder what brought that to their mind.
They also have a motion poems UK category. Yeah, you just get like a very wide spectrum of weird from the poem itself, and heartfelt, and then all these different styles that happen together. I think it's like when they go into it for a collaboration, it's very conscious that like they are doing a collaboration, so it looks like one piece. It's cohesive. But yeah, that's it's a fun site that I suddenly remember once a month.
Yeah, the emails
I
is how I
also
get.
just spend a lot of.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's okay. We always talk at the same
Yeah,
time. It's fine.
Hannah and Todd are just like
That's it.
They're on that wavelength. Hannah, you go first this time.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, okay. I was just going to say I spend an awful lot of time on YouTube just watching tutorials, and I find kind of like what Adam was saying about learning a process often leads to the inspiration of, oh, what can I do with this now? I know how to do this. I might as well try and use rubber hose or something. And I don't know, just learning new things just really inspires me. Yep.
Absolutely.
And so oftentimes it's, okay, what can I make without purchasing this plugin?
That is a huge source of inspiration for sure.
I was going to say emails, like tending to get the motionographer email or mograph.com. They have a podcast and like a video one. I'll watch that on YouTube. And it's mostly cinema stuff, but they do talk about After Effects some. But they always have different artists on, and then they show their work. So you're introduced to someone, you find out about them and their work. So then that's inspiration right there, and then another rabbit hole to go down. Checking out their work.
So speaking of rabbit holes, has come up a few times. It's very easy to get lost kind of in like clicking on this thing and then seeing the related posts or videos or items, and you kind of keep going. And one thing I find that happens sometimes is that I think is fairly common is that you can see all this amazing stuff out there. Does anyone just start to get like demoralized of I am not making the work that is this cool. And I don't know if anybody's willing to talk about how you how do you get past that when you're in the stage of a project of searching for inspiration and not just getting completely dejected before you even start? Or is everyone just soul crushed all the time?
I think it's pretty normal to be intimidated by other designers. I mean, you can even come in a group like this and not be confident about what you're about to present to the group. But as long as people know that, hey, I'm trying, that to me says a lot about who you are.
For sure. I think Hannah kind of touched upon it from my personal experience. Like, there have definitely been times when I've seen something and my soul is crushed like a grape. But then there'll be other times when I'll see something like, okay, I think I know one of the steps to like probably the 12 that went into that. Maybe I could learn the other 11. And then it's like the learning or the idea that like I'm not there, but I could be because I at least know the terms to put into Google. Like that drive for learning is kind of what helps to overcome the soul crushing.
I think somebody posted on Twitter recently that one of the problems with motion design is that it's so many things coming together. Like it's, graphic design, it's animation, it's visual effects, it's filmmaking, it's sound, music, like all these different things coming together that it takes people a lifetime to master any one of those things. And so to be in a field where you have to kind of combine them all, and especially where so many of us are doing it alone, I feel like it's very easy to like just feel depressed and like you're an imposter and you're never going to get it all. And I think, at least for me, like that's where I have a hard time, is knowing that I'm generally alone in working on these projects. How can I work on something that I'm proud of and hopefully hold on to that before I see the next thing that makes me realize I still don't know most of what I'm doing?
Well put.
Yeah. I can't take too much credit for that.
Yeah, that kind of thought process always makes me wonder, because there are so many different aspects of motion design, should I be trying to specialize more in one specific area, or should I continue to stay broad? I don't know, but I think kind of like what Tara said, the drive to learn new things just keeps pulling me in so many different directions, and I can't focus on just one thing. So I've kind of come to accept that I'm never going to really specialize in a certain area. And then when I see those amazing projects and I go, oh wow, I mean, they probably had a team of people first off, and they're specialized in their studio, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up the fun of doing a whole bunch of different little things.
So Hannah, I want to expand upon your expansion of my expansion on your expansion.
Conversation.
It's feedback loop.
Always remember that like that thing that crushes your soul was probably a team. Like that is something that like that idea that like, oh, it's a team of people. Yes, I can't do that because I'm one person. That is a team. Like that's been a big like uplifter. And then the other part, I know a lot of people have that debate about, do I specialize or do I be a generalist? And my philosophy has always been meet in the middle, be an angular person. Which some people get mad at me because they're like, no, that's a cop-out. But I'm like, no, hear me out. You can like have your primary skill set, which is what you're more focused on, what you're more using every day. And then, as an angular person, like you have that wider scope at the top, which are areas that like you're just kind of touching on and you know enough about them, but you're definitely not in that angled focus skills. So those are like your secondary, tertiary skills, whatever. And just like, if you know what to Google, then you're good. Because you can teach yourself whatever it is you need to learn. So as long as you're like in that area where like I know what to Google, I can spend the next 3 hours in tutorials and then I'll go from there. I think the Angular person is all you need to try to like be. I don't know how inspiring that was, but that's my thought on specialist versus generalist. And if you like being one of either of those things, great. Good for you. I mean that sincerely. Like there's like Paul said, there's so many things. Graphic design, motion design, video editing, compositing, music, and it's just like all of them are incredible. And the fact that you're just here doing things and that you are here today, you showed up to a meeting, or you're watching online in the future, like, hey, that means you're taking that extra step for your own self-improvement, and that's awesome. Tangent over.
Well said.
That's very true.
Cool. Well, we're pushing up on time for our meeting, so I think we'll just start to wrap it up and ask if anybody has any other nuggets of wisdom or any other questions they might have on. We'll open up to like either the topic of inspiration or just, is there anything you've been wondering about in After Effects too? That
I have something.
yeah.
What I was thinking is anyone interested in dedicating an hour to just like a hackathon, like, and meeting up on Twitch so we can all kind of work together, and just whatever happens within an hour is what you get. So it's a minimum amount of time. It's kind of like this. It's like 1 hour out of your day per month.
You think of like collaboratively working on something, or just like working on your own thing but together with other people around?
You got it right there.
Yeah.
Working together on your own thing. But what it does for me is, what I like about it is that it forces me to like experiment, like I just did with today's post. Is like, it's keeping me active and getting my mind out of like, I got to work all the time. And doing stuff like this is fun.
So just like a creative office hours where
Yeah.
it's just
When you're
online, you're there, you can pop in and out, you can talk shop, you can show up with pineapple pizza, you
There
can
you
see
go.
everybody be disgusted by your pineapple pizza and talk
Yeah,
about
that's good
About
pizza.
pineapple pizza. It's delicious.
I think when you work collaboratively too, is like you can ask somebody a question live, or even field somebody's questions that may be watching you live and saying, oh, like I've always ran into this, like what do you guys do? And out of whoever joins, I'm sure somebody has an answer.
Mhm. Is Twitch a good, because I'm old and I'm not up.
No,
with
Paul,
all
you're not
the
allowed to be old.
things.
Then that makes me old. So, Paul, you're very young. You're a handsome young man. Please continue.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. So can does Twitch offer like the ability for multiple people to join in the video or streaming side of it, or is there one person that's going to be kind of doing their thing and other people are kind of commenting and talking with them?
You can do tandem.
Okay.
I've seen it done.
Well, I must be old because I haven't seen it done. I've only seen the presenter and commenters.
Oh,
That's very exciting, though, to learn that it has the other side of things.
yeah. You can have, like, for instance, a guest.
Can you do something like that on Discord? I don't know. I just joined Discord a few days ago.
Yeah. You can do I can't remember if it's on our, if we have a general audio chat, but so we do have a voice channel, and you can like hop on there and share your screen, and everyone's like talking, or you can share a video too. So that might be another good place to do it too.
Because I know we already have a Discord, so
We do have a Discord.
I don't know which one's better though.
Just different sites, I think. I think Discord might be a little bit less formal. I think Twitch, you have to like start a stream and cover everything with that. But I'm, like I said, old, and I have not streamed on Twitch. So, but what I do like about the idea is that I think it kind of gets back to some things that we haven't done as a group, but I know have been done, of like coffee and keyframe type things, where it's like bring your laptop, hang out at a coffee shop for an hour or two. You're working on something and you can bounce ideas off of other people. And I think that'd be great to bring into our remote COVID world that we're living in right now.
It'd be so
Absolutely.
great to do it at an actual coffee shop.
Right? Or at least like get good coffee. Do it that way.
Have you guys ever been to the Adobe meetups? Not the Adobe Max one, but it was once a year. It's past now, but they basically invite teams to come in. They have a
Yeah.
topic, and then they get, I think, 3 to 4 hours to work on something, and then it's presented live to everyone in the group.
Yeah, I've never been to one of those, but I've seen the results, and it always seemed like a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's super cool what people come up with in such short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, why don't let's experiment with this. We'll sometime in the coming weeks we'll try to find a time and we'll just say, hey, either hop on Discord or go to this Twitch stream and work on something and bounce ideas off each other. And that I think that'd be a fun thing to try.
Yeah.
Paul, we're recording this meeting, so now we either have to follow through with this or one of us has to edit out what you just said.
Hopefully it doesn't show a timestamp on the video. What happened to those 2 minutes? No, but I do think that would be a fun thing to try, because I think one of the things that we're finding in our world right now is that, you know, we're not able to get together the way we would like to. And so any of those things that kind of bring us together in some way would be fun to try. So
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, join our Discord if you want to talk more about this.
yeah.
Paul, do you have any information on how they can get into that if they've never been there before?
Yeah, so I will I'll post a reminder link on the Facebook group, and I think there's a page on our website as well.
You have to generate a new code for that, right?
I think it's open the whole time. You can set a link to never expire for invites for Discord. So it's, if you're not familiar with Discord, it is a kind of like Slack or like other message board type social sites, but it's just a way for us to kind of real-time chat with each other. And then they do have voice channels, which you can also now do video and screen sharing as well. So it's a great way. There's a few people on there who will, you know, have a problem with After Effects, post a question, and then like 3 people will, you know, start problem solving with them in real time, which is fun to see. So it's a little bit
I wish
a little bit more real
joined
time.
earlier.
Yeah.
I had a question that I've been thinking about for years, but didn't have the right terms to Google for it, and maybe it just didn't exist. But finally, someone in the Minnesota motion, I forget, blanking on the name, not the After Effects group, but the motion.
Oh, Nice Moves?
Nice Moves, thank you. They were able to answer it. It's like, finally, after years.
I will say, like, one of the ways that Paul is an excellent co-host of this group is that he is on that Discord page and he is answering questions. So
yeah, the problem is I have too many Discords that I'm part of, so that's why I'm on all the time, is because I'm bouncing between all of them.
Oh, Paul, I appreciate it. Like, when I randomly have this question about this effect, I know that I can turn to you and send you a message and you won't yell at me. So that's very reassuring.
I don't yell at anybody for sending me messages unless it's like 3 a.m. and for some reason my phone buzzes at me and wakes me up. So cool. Well, before we close out, does anybody else have any other topics or questions or nuggets of wisdom to drop? Other than the subtle encouragement from Todd.
Or any like other inspiration sources, or maybe just like a fun video or a fun GIF that inspires you to do something. I talked about pineapple pizza because in my work team chat there were a bunch of GIFs about pizza. And there's a little pineapple that was like hip bumping the pizza slice, and it was very cute. So that's where that stemmed from. But it was like very inspiring to just see that like pure little animation this morning.
I guess I want to say something that I don't think we said yet, but when I'm feeling overwhelmed with so much stuff, I just gotta take a step back from the computer. Okay, nothing for the rest of the day. Okay. Or like, I just went camping last weekend and it was so good to just be away from all the digital platforms, and I think that's very important. Then you can look at real things.
Yeah. Go for
I
a
don't know how
walk
to look at
every
something
day.
that's not behind a computer screen. Like this is so foreign to me. Like I don't understand.
Escape
was at
is
a-
good.
What,
I was gonna
Todd?
say I was at
I
a
said
film.
escape is good.
Oh,
Getting away,
Escape.
escape.
escape is good.
I was at a film shoot today and I saw one of my coworkers for the first time since March in person. I was like, this feels weird. Like I need a piece of glass in front of me so it feels like I'm looking at my IMAX screen. Like it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, I will say go for a walk every day. Like just fresh air can be a little inspiring or like de-stressful.
Right. I always figure stuff out when I'm walking the dog. Like I've been working on it all morning and then take the dog out and be like, oh, it just comes from moving something other than your wrist for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good point. So Adam, I must ask, which category of dog is your dog? Corgi or not a corgi?
Corgi like? He's a corgi like non-corgi.
That sounds mystical. Thank you. But yeah, definitely to Hannah and Adam's point, just stepping away from your computer. Oftentimes, like when you let that idea on the back burner, that's when it'll spark and you'll get your aha moment later.
And
So
when
yeah,
you
any
look
other
at other people's amazing work and you think how wonderful it is, just go over to your non-motion designer friend and they think whatever you do is magic anyway.
Nothing wrong with an ego boost. For sure.
Yeah.
I took my screen out into the yard for this meeting just to step away.
Nice.
Just
I did notice like the blue sky behind you, and I'm looking at like my dark basement, feeling jealous.
It's very nice. The sunset.
So yeah, any other final thoughts, questions, shares?
No,
Can you post the Discord link or name or whatever?
no. Why don't I post it in the chat? Yeah, the more people get on Discord, the more chances you have of actually running into people online. So, hop on over
Or walk.
or meander is another. Yeah,
Mosey.
mosey on.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. Goodbye, digital audience. Farewell.
Bye.
Thanks for the meeting.